I've been thinking a lot more about what it means to be a part of a community, and I think it's a lot more important than I've given it credit for in the past. But I think we all know that it's important, but that doesn't change it from being one of the most difficult parts of this generation. Personally, I grew up pretty quiet, contrary to popular belief, and I was always a little bit of a loner, a little socially awkward. But as I've gotten older, I really learned the value of like being around people and not only relying on yourself. But just because I've acknowledged the fact that being around people is important doesn't mean that, building that sense of community ever came naturally to me. For a long time, I was one of those girls who really had just one pillar in their life, and that was their romantic relationships. It was me and my partner, me and my partner, me and my partner, and I was one of those girls who also was in really long-term relationships, back and forth and back and forth. But after a particularly difficult breakup when I was around 18, it made me really realize that your partner absolutely cannot be the most important part of your life. Like, of course, your partner, you strive to want your partner to be a good friend to you, but your partner can't be your only friend. And that's something that sounds really obvious, but like in action, was really difficult for me because I learned to confide solely in my partner. And I was like, okay, if my partner can't be the sole person in my life, how can I go about this in a healthier way? And something that really stuck out to me was building like these different pillars. So of course platonic mentors, and then of course romantic relationships. Because of course my partner is an important part of my life. I just didn't want it to be the only part. So I go into another relationship, and then I try really hard to prioritize my platonic friendships, my girls, you know, and really focus in on these friendships. But again, I feel like in this day and age, especially in the era of technology and with the pandemic passing, I believe that the pandemic caused a whole generation of us to develop like acute agoraphobia without any of that really being addressed. I think it's become a lot harder for all of us to like socialize. And I think it's something that we all are kind of struggling with in silence. You hear on the phones or online everyone talking about third spaces, building community, being a part of a village, being a villager, and everyone's trying to figure out how to find that sense of belonging. And I'm not gonna pretend as if I have the answer, of course not. But I think throughout the years, I've definitely built a community of people who I think really care about me and I care about them. And this has actually been one of the longest periods of times in my life where I've been single. I've been single for about a full year now, and I don't feel alone. I feel very cherished and loved. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I think it's really important to not only find that sense of belonging with platonic friendships, with familial relationships, and of course within yourself. Because I feel like a really big part of like building a community is like understanding your hobbies and forming such a deep bond with yourself and with enjoying your own presence that it almost feels like you're hanging out with yourself, and there's like a pleasure in that in and of itself, you know? And my answer gets awful, I apologize. And it's been interesting. And I think as someone who also does want to find that special person, that partner, I actually think, finding that fulfillment in other areas of my life have also benefited my journey in finding my other partner. Because I feel like when you are looking for that sense of belonging in a romantic partnership, it can make you overlook a lot of questionable things. And trust me, I have my stories and you will hear about them because I have no shame in talking about my past experiences and as this journey goes on, my future ones. But of course, in all due time. Well, for now, we'll just sit and we'll talk because that's the beauty of it. Sometimes it's really important to just sit and talk and relax. In the world where everything is instant gratification and 5-minute bites of media, let's test our attention span. Sit, relax, have a glass of tea, and welcome to the show.